Hey there, y'all, and welcome to the kitchen. Today is a special lesson in Mama Whitten's kitchen. Number one, because we're doing a lot of summer favorites. These recipes primarily are things that are the most requested things for me to bring when we have a picnic or a family gathering. And then our main dish is one that you can make ahead, and it's a crowd pleaser for your whole family. It's a mini meatloaf Tex Mex style that is a summer crowd pleasing favorite. So let's get started. First things first, this meal is comprised of a lot of things that I always talk about I prep ahead. So I'm going to show you how to use a weekend's worth of prep work done for weekday meal planning. So we've got some things prepped ahead here, and I just want to walk you through what I've got. So I've got some pre-cooked white rice here, just a few cups of that, seasoned with a little bit of chicken base and some scallions to give it a little extra flavor, but still very neutral so it can go any way. I've got some shredded sharp cheddar here, some corn that's just whole kernel corn thawed out, ready to go and use in any kind of dish, some chopped cucumbers, some onions, and then I've got a little vegetable medley here that I chopped over the weekend. This is carrots, celery, and onions. We're going to just cook this up to be part of our meatloaf, and because I've already got this prepped, that's going to cut way down on my prep time for my meal. I've got some washed spring mix over here, some iceberg lettuce that we're going to use to top our little Tex Mex meatloafs with, as well as a few helpers from the grocery store. I've got some panko breadcrumbs, a little bit of salad dressing that's already been made, some mayonnaise, and some small baby pickles. Another thing I have here is I have some beautiful tomatoes from our garden. And I want to show you something about these tomatoes. Our tomatoes are going to be in several of our dishes. I'm going to show you how to make my homemade salsa, which we often use in the Pico De Gallo form because my husband loves it sometimes really chunky on top of his rice, and that's what we're going to do with our meatloaf. And then I'm going to show you as well how I use these tomatoes to put in a pasta salad in just a minute. But I want to show you something about chopping tomatoes that's really, really important. When you chop tomatoes, you will know the integrity of your knife. Your knife needs to be sharp enough to go ahead and push through this tomato skin without crushing the tomato. Let me show you exactly what I mean. My knife, I'm going to hold it like this, never with my finger out like that. Always control the knife with the full fingers on your handle, and it should just slide directly through the skin of that tomato, just like that. If your knife crushes your tomato, it's not sharp enough. And if you don't have a sharp enough knife right now, the serrated edge knives will always pass through the tomato skin. But the reason that it's important to have this knife be that sharp is because anytime you're cutting anything else, specifically things like onions, the sharper your knife is, the less you'll cry, the less mess you'll make, and the less likely you are to cut yourself. So I'm going to link this particular knife. It's a really affordable knife. I got it for Mother's Day, and I love it so much. So I'm going to link this for you in the description so you can get this at Amazon. So I'm going to pass through this tomato again, show you how easy that is. And I'm going to take all of my sides out, and then I'm going to show you how I cut the core. So this is one last side, but I'm going to go on the diagonal just right through my core like this. And that's going to give me ultimate amount of tomatoes still intact while getting rid of my core. Okay? I'm going to chop a few more down to this point, and then I'll get them broken down fully and get them in the bowl. The goal right here is just to get a good uniform dice on there. I like a little bit bigger than a pencil eraser for these recipes. Like I said, Pico De Gallo, some good diced tomatoes going in our pasta salad, and even a little bit of tomatoes sprinkled on top of our Tex Mex meatloafs. These shapes will all work best if they're like a little bit bigger than an eraser size. So like I said, my meatloafs are going to get topped a little bit like a taco would. It's going to be so fun and delicious. Okay, I think I've got one or two more tomatoes that'll fit in my bowl, and we'll be good to go. It's tomato season here in South Alabama already. We've been in South Carolina most of our marriage, but we actually have been in South Alabama. This is our second summer, and we figured out the tomato recipe this year, so we are loaded. Last year we didn't do as good as we typically do in our hometown in upstate South Carolina, but we kind of figured out the soil. We've got raised beds, so we've got a little more soil control now, and we are in business. So I'm loaded with tomatoes, making salsa multiple times a week, and super happy about it. Salsa, oddly enough, even though I am a Southern chef at heart, is my most requested recipe. I learned to make salsa, years and years and years ago, and to this day, It's either my most requested recipe for somebody that wants to learn how to make something I make, or it is the most requested thing that I bring to something. I literally have a list of people that get salsa at their birthdays and Christmas. So I have about 4 or 5 different jars of salsa that get made every single Christmas. One goes to my daddy, one goes to my brother, and a couple go to our Christmas parties where you bring white elephant gifts, and it always ends up being the one thing that people fight and trade for so many times. And it's hilarious because it's homemade salsa, and I pair it with a few bags of chips so you can eat it on the spot, and it gets passed off. I mean, people trade expensive gifts for this, and it's so fun. So, needless to say, this is something that we have in our refrigerator all year long. We take big batches on vacation with us, especially when we go on summer vacation. We don't want our tomatoes to go to waste. So I've made big, like half-gallon jars of my mason jars to take on our family vacations, and they get gone. They get gone. And then sometimes I take the tomatoes that we have on the vine right at the last minute before we pull out of the driveway, and I have to make salsa again on the trip. Also, needless to say, taco night is my responsibility on family vacation. Me and my sister-in-law share it, and we just get the biggest reviews because everybody loves taco night, and obviously the salsa goes with it. So I've got about probably 2 more cups of tomatoes left to chop. All said and done, this is going to be about 3.5 to 4 cups of tomatoes, and this amount of tomatoes will last us through all of these dishes after I make my salsa. I'm not making a huge quart-sized portion of salsa. I'm just going to make enough today to go with our dinner. But typically, which is about a pint of salsa, but typically I make this salsa a quart at a time. And if I make it in big batches, often I do this in my blender. And then sometimes, like I said, my husband likes this in the Pico De Gallo sort of form. So I have this kind of as a second style, different style condiment, just for him to put just directly on his rice. He loves to do that on any kind of Southwest dinners that I make. All right, that's all of our tomatoes. And like I said, this is an inexpensive knife, so I'm going to link it in the description because it is one of those things that it just makes your life so much simpler in the kitchen. I have a good friend. I was just recently teaching my live class, my weekly live class, and she was listening in, and she said, oh my gosh, let me grab a paper towel real quick. She said, oh my gosh, you said your son got you a new knife for Mother's Day because your knives were 5 years old. And she goes, oh my gosh, mine's 18. I got to get a new knife. Yeah, if it's 18 years old, it's time to get a new knife. You can obviously sharpen a knife for years and years, but eventually you're going to just need to replace it because there's only so many times something can really, really be sharpened. My husband does have a few blades that were his grandfather's, and they are old as the hills, and somehow they're still holding on, but I'm sure that's about the quality of things from back then. Okay, so all my tomatoes are chopped. Let's get prepping some of this stuff. So we're going to go first with our salsa because we're going to use that, and it's going to use a lot of these tomatoes. So let me get a quick bowl so we can make our salsa. And we'll just put it to the side, and it can be marinating and getting a lot happier in this bowl while we're doing all that. So quickly, I need a spoon. I'm going to use a good cup of our tomatoes, 1.5 cups most likely once I get it in the bowl. Really what you want here is you want mainly tomatoes to make up about 3/4 of this mixture, and then the other things that you're going to put in, your onions, your cilantro, all that kind of stuff, that's going to make up the other 1/4 of the portion. So I'm going to get some of my pre-chopped onions and add to that. Like I said, prepping makes all the difference in the world because that was already chopped. I did that this weekend, didn't even have to fool with it. That was about 1/4 cup of onions. I have also got some salt back here. I want to get a salt. I'm going to get some lime juice, and I'm going to grab some cilantro. Now my cilantro, I've already pulled it off. It's totally washed. Let me get my herbs out of here. Where did my herbs go? There you are. My cilantro is already washed. I have a little bit chopped already. It's probably a little more rough chopped than I want it to be, so I'm just going to pass through it one more time. And the cilantro here is going to really wake up this dish. It gives that herby punch of brightness that nothing else does. If you don't like cilantro, because I know that there are a lot of people whose palates don't love it, I think statistics show, blah, 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 that's a lot in my mouth. Statistics show that about 50% of people actually taste something sort of soapy when they taste the flavor of cilantro. In that case, you could always replace the flavor of green onions or scallions, however you would like, or you could do parsley if you would like, and then a little bit extra onion and garlic. So that was in with about 1/4 of a cup of cilantro. I'm going to get a good teaspoon to teaspoon and a half of salt. And then I'm going to go with the juice of half of my lemon here. This is going to be a really juicy lemon. They're very big, and so I'm going to make sure I get enough, but I know I will. This half is going to be a plenty. If it's not particularly juicy, use a whole one. Or if you have limes on hand, you can use a whole lime. But that was a good 2 to 3 tablespoons of lemon juice, and that's exactly what we need. And then I'm going to get a little bit of garlic. My minced garlic is something that I always have on hand because it saves me so much time. I also do keep regular garlic on hand in the big bulbs, but I use that for things like roasting in the oven and doing stock and stuff where I'm not trying to break it down and get it really small. So I'm going to go with about a good size teaspoon of minced garlic, and then I'm going to just stir this together and my Pico De Gallo will be ready. And honestly, that's the most labor-intensive portion of this meal because we've done all the work ahead of time. All right, let's stir this up. And like I said, the time that this spins on the counter, it'll just keep on getting better. And the salt's going to break down everything in here, the onions and the tomatoes and the garlic, and really just mellow out the flavor, kind of make them wilt and weak to make a little more moisture in this salsa, so it really gets into all your food and makes it super delicious. Okay, next thing we're going to do. Salsa's done. It's going to sit over here for just a few minutes. Now, the next thing that's going to take the next longest amount of time is our little meatloaf cups. So let's get started on those. I'm going to get my muffin tins, and that is how this, ignore those loud noises, that is how this goes so fast. So our muffin tin is going to be the vehicle to make these meatloafs match our cook time for everything else and call it a shortcut supper. So basically what I want to do first, I'm going to get a little pan and I'm going to take my cut up onions, carrots, and celery, and I'm going to start to wilt them in just a little bit of olive oil in my pan. Now, these are going to go into my meatloaf mixture slightly softened because this is going to continue to cook a little bit more, obviously. The vegetables will, while the rest of the meatloaf's in the oven, but we want to give this a head start because it will not match the complete cook time of that, and our onions and celery and carrots would still be a little bit tough to chew. So I'm putting a little olive oil in my pan, about a tablespoon, and then I'm going to put a cup of this mixture. And that'll leave me about a ½ cup for another recipe, which I love always having bonus of this on hand because it really just helps me out the next meal. This would be great to put in chicken soup, chicken and rice, any kind of thing that I'm going to want to get a little bit ahead on. Okay, so I'm going to move my tomatoes out of my way and get my meat mixture started. So first things first, I need my bowl. I'm going to take my rings off. And because I know good and well how important it is, I'm going to take my rings off and put them in the same place I always put them. Because if you put them in a different place, they'll end up missing. Okay, here we go. Let's close these things up. Let's get started. So I'm going to start with about 2 pounds of ground beef here. Now, I've got a pack that is 3 pounds. Here's a tip. If you've got a good price going in your grocery store on ground beef, don't just buy what you need right now. Buy what you're going to need altogether. So this is 3 pounds of ground beef. I'm going to use 2 of these pounds and save another pound for later. So I'm going to get this out. I'm just going to, obviously you can tell what is about 1/3 by scoring it, and that really will help me. So I'm going to go about 2/3 of a way across, score the meat, and get 2 pounds into my pan, just like that. Anytime that you really are trying to be conscious of your budget, which for us, we have 4 kids. That's really any time, because when we have extra, that's fun time that we get to spend money doing things together, going on trips, stuff like that. but we always try to shop the meat department deals. Really, I'm a really frugal grocery shopper altogether. I was raised by really frugal parents, and that's why. But when you have a meat department and you kind of know their schedule, for us and a lot of grocery stores, that's a Monday morning primetime meat department shop. So many stores, Monday mornings, they will have up to 50% off markdowns on their meat. Or they would also have on Tuesdays all of their newest specials coming out, and you'll know what their deals that week are with the coupons. So you can either shop smart at the end of the week or pair their deals with their coupons at the beginning of the week and actually get your meal plan based on what their sales are. So either one of those methods are a good way to get your best meat prices. And meat is where we spend a lot of our money. We have two very older boys compared to our girls anyway. I have a husband who's what I call a meatitarian, and then we have two boys that are 19 and 21, so we eat a lot of protein. And so we just really need to have those meat prices stand up for us. I'm going to rinse my hand real quick because I did touch meat, and then I'm going to season my onions and start to season my meat mixture. So what I'm going to show you here is another little tip. I have a shaker here that does not have the lid, and that is on purpose. This is a shaker mixed with salt, and that is 2 tablespoons of salt, 1 tablespoon of garlic powder, and 1 tablespoon of onion powder. This is a mixture that I use a whole lot, and the reason it doesn't have a shaker lid on it is I'm just not patient for the shaker lid. I like to measure in my hand, I dump it out, put it in the dish. So I'm going to season my onions and celery and carrots with about a teaspoon of this seasoning mixture, which is primarily salt, but also has some onion and garlic powder in it. And I've got this on about medium high heat. Now that it's kind of come up to temperature, I'm going to turn it down to low. Give it another little minute because it's just softening up, and we'll be ready to put it in here. So the next thing I'm going to put into my Tex Mex meatloaf is a little bit of breadcrumbs. We're going to go with some cheddar cheese. Okay, then we're going to go with a little bit of chili powder and cumin. Now, chili powder and cumin are 2 seasonings that I have on hand all the time because we have taco night at least once a week. And really, this could sub for your taco night because obviously you've got the flavors. Okay, so we're going to come off with the meat. I'm going to let that cool just slightly. You don't want to put this into your meatloaf hot because your meatloaf will have eggs in it in a minute, and that'll start to curdle your eggs and start to scramble them. Don't want to do that. So in our meat, we're going to go with a good half of a cup of panko breadcrumbs. Now my hand, I know, is about 1/4 of a cup when it's cupped like this, and I really just did it overflowing. But if you want to be really accurate, your 1/4 of a cup, level-ish with a little heap, 2 times. But that's just what I did. I'll eyeball this and make sure it has enough moisture and enough breadcrumbs for me at the end. So I went in with about 1/2 cup of breadcrumbs. I'm going to go in with about 1/2 cup of shredded cheddar cheese, and that's sharp cheddar. I love sharp cheddar because it just has that extra bite and extra flavor. And anytime I have a chance for extra flavor, we're going to do it. Okay, I'm going to put a tablespoon of cumin in here, a tablespoon of chili powder, and then I'm going to go with a good 1.5 tablespoons of this seasoning mixture. It's got my salt, my garlic, my onion powder, so that's what's going to be my heavy flavor punch here. Now I'm going to get some black pepper, crack it in there. Just hold that for me a minute, Muffin Tin. I'm going to do about 10 to 20 cracks of black pepper, but at the end of the day, it'll be about a teaspoon of black pepper in here. Okay, and then I'm going to need my milk and my eggs really quickly. We're only going to need 1 egg, so I'm going to get my milk out. I'm going to move my Muffin Tin just for another minute. We'll be back to you in just a second. Let's put you over here. There you go, friend. Okay, and then I need my 1 egg. Anytime you also find eggs on sale, I love to stock up on those. If I've only got a dozen eggs in my pantry or in my fridge, we don't have enough eggs. So these days, if eggs are good enough sale, go for some eggs and get enough because we love eggs as one of our favorite proteins. Okay, so that was an egg in. I'm going to take my fork, whisk my egg up before we start mixing because I don't want to have to mix any extra That'll help keep my meat nice and tender. And then I'm going to put in about a half a cup of milk, but I want to start with just a fourth. The reason for that is I want to check my moisture level once everybody's in the pool. So that's why I'm starting with a fourth. I'm going to mix it and see if I need that other fourth of a cup. And I like to land it directly on top of my breadcrumbs so I really know where my moisture level is. Okay, and then I'm going to go in with my veggies. Now, if you notice, a lot of Tex-Mex meals here, they would have a jalapeno in, and I would love to do that, but we have little baby children, 3 and 5 years old. So I'm going to slice some Fresno chilies, which we have in our garden, at the very end of this, and put those on a few of the ones that are going to be for my husband and my boys. That's an easy way to give them the heat without sparing everybody else the uncomfortability of the spice they don't want. Specifically that 3-year-old baby child who would probably be like, Mama! Okay, I think my moisture level actually is really, really good. I actually feel like I need a couple of tablespoons more of breadcrumbs. So my meat ended up having a little more moisture and my egg was a little bigger. So that's why we ended up here. It's really important to know what you're looking for. Actually, let me show you. So that's pretty moist and it looks pretty good, but when I touch it, it still has more of a moisture than I want than a stickiness. The stickiness shows me that there's enough breadcrumbs in there that's really going to hold together. So I added another about 3 tablespoons of breadcrumbs. And as this sits over the next minute while I'm prepping my muffin tins, we'll really be able to see how good this is going to be. Now, once this is in the oven, this is a 15-minute cook, as long as you make them about this portion size that I'm going to show you here. So let's stick that over there. I'm going to grab my muffin tin and wash my hands real quick. Okay, y'all, we're back. I'm going to show you how these meatloaves come together. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to spray my muffin tin with a little bit of nonstick spray. I don't want it to be incredibly loaded on the spray because this is already a nonstick. This is my Green Wise muffin tin. I absolutely love it. The color's gorgeous, but this is a safe nonstick. I'll link this in the description too. As soon as I got this, my mom, who is organic down to her skincare and her cleaning products, was like, I need to know where you got that. So this is a good one in my house. We do everything in these muffin tins, from breakfast biscuit muffins with sausage and eggs to muffins to meatloaf, cupcakes, you name it. This is my favorite muffin tin and it is a good one. So we're going to build these in our muffin tins. I'm going to take some of these large flour tortillas. This is called large burrito size and we need 4 of these for 12 little tins. So that means that out of our 12 tins, and we have 2 pounds of meat. I always talk about this. We got to math. I'm an early childhood education girl at heart. That's where I got my start in teaching. So because we have 12 tins, we need 4 of these for that, and we're going to make 3 little triangles to fill these per square and make sure everybody's all even. Our meat is 2 pounds, so we're going to have 6 portions per half of my meat. So this is how we're going to work this out. We're going to go down here and we're going to basically make like a little pie. 3 equal portions. And trust me, this shape works the best for these muffin tins. See, like this. So we're going to take our muffin tins and this is how it goes. We're going to just kind of make a flower in here. And you'll see that my meatloaf mixture will just fit perfectly in here. Let me show you what that looked like. Just like that. Okay? And because we sprayed these, you're going to get like a crispy exterior. I might as well start in the front. Let me show you how that does. I push that front corner in until these start to meet and then they just kind of come together. It does the work for you. Okay, so let's keep going. So basically because I sprayed these muffin tins first, they're going to be crispy on the bottom and crispy on the edges because they're going to get another little spray before we put them in. Anytime I use a medium like a tortilla or bread or something like that, and you could take the opportunity, or even like a cheese crust on the top of your lasagna, and you can take the opportunity to have some extra flavor, do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to season my tortilla right here, basically like I would season garlic bread. I'm going to take a little bit of my cooking spray, spray it. Obviously that helps with crispness. And then I'm going to just sprinkle over the top some more of this mixture of seasoning that has the garlic, salt, and onion powder in it. And what that's going to do is just really give a really good flavor to the shell itself. So nobody is going to just throw that to the side and not eat it and waste it. But they'll be like, oh, that's a really good part of the dish too. Okay, so these are all made just like that, and that was super quick. Boop, just like that. All right, and then I'm going to get my cooking spray, wherever I put that. There it is. And I'm just going to spray this lightly one more time. My oven is preheated to 400 degrees, and that's why this is going to go so quickly. I'm going to get about a tablespoon. We're not going to use that much in my hand, but we're just going to sprinkle a little over the top. A teaspoon probably will be enough, but I just put enough in my hands where I won't run out and have to go back. And if you have extra, you can just put it right back in the jar. But that ended up being more like a hefty teaspoon and a half, not a tablespoon. And I used it all. So let's get our meat. Now, like I said, this is 2 pounds of meat mixture. It's going to have to make 12 portions. So the way that I do that is I take my mixture, and in my pan, I make it pretty even across the bottom. And I take my hand in my bowl, and I half my mixture down the middle. And now I know that each of these pieces of mixture is going to have to give me 6 out of this. So to help me again, I'm going to take my hand and go across 2 different times. And then I know that each of, because I had to go a little bit, I didn't do quite even, so don't look at the lines. But I know what it is. There's 6 portions, and each of these 6 portions is going to give me 2 meatloaf cup fillings. So here we go. So 1 portion, 2 ways, in they go, just like that. This mixture right here could easily be made ahead of time, kept in the fridge, and then you could pull it out in the night that you're ready for making meatloaf. Or even better yet, if you really, really, really want to get ahead, these would make excellent little meatballs. And you can make your meatball mixture, not necessarily bake it, but freeze it in these large meatball shapes, and then you could pull it out the night that you want to make these, thaw them out about 3 hours before time to actually eat, and you will be ready to have these delicious meatballs almost any night of the week. That's really good make ahead for somebody having a baby. Okay, there's a tip for you. All right, those people having babies are all around us. Seems like every other week we had somebody else having a baby in a baby shower. 2 more cups. It's a wonderful place to be. Babies everywhere. It's just not our turn anymore. It's somebody else's turn. Been there, done that 4 times. Okay, I've got a little bit left from this last piece, so I'm going to find my skimpiest spots and fill those up. And then on the very top of this, before it goes in my oven, I'm going to put a little bit more cheese, but before I do that, I'm going to rinse off my hands. Okay, so just a little more cheese on top, and that will really just seal the deal to let people know what's in this, that it's like a Tex Mex, almost Tex Mex meets cheeseburger meatloaf. I mean, who can complain about that? But it does have the veg in it. I didn't want to skimp on the veg, even though we're going to go a little different route. We still have the carrots, celery, and onions in here, so that gives us some veggie punch. And y'all, we are almost halfway through this cook time, and we've already got our main thing going in the oven and our prep done for both of our sides that we're about to pull together. So in the oven this goes, and we're going to bake these for about 15 minutes, 400 degrees. Super yummy. Okay, the next thing we're going to pull out is our pasta salad. Okay, so our pasta salad basically starts like this: shortcut pasta, which I have pre-cooked here, and a lot of our fresh veggie ingredients that we have banged out and gotten ready already. So we need a bowl. Now for this, I really like to do a light vinaigrette dressing. This pasta salad is, like I said, one of the most requested things that I make across the board. This is going to be completely built in this bowl, and then our pasta is going to be put on top of it. This is a collapsible strainer. Don't let it collapse with the pasta in it. Okay, so we're going to build all the things in the bowl. We're going to put our dressing in, then our veggies, because we want our veggies to all be seasoned, then our pasta in last, and then we're going to toss it. So let's get started with our dressing. This is where we're going to go the shortcut route. We've got some really, really, really good Greek dressing here that has yummy herbs and vinegar and feta in it. So it's got a really, really good heavy flavor punch. I'm going to put about 1.5 cups. This is a pound of pasta cooked. We're going to load this with the veggies. This is going to be a filling pasta salad, but I don't want to go all pre-made dressing. Anytime I make something, I use the words semi-homemade and stuff like this. I don't want to do it all from scratch, but I do want to improve on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some red wine vinegar to kind of bump up the bite, and a little bit more olive oil, because I love to have a fresher bite. And I can get it open. There we go. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to call my husband down here. I'm going to go with about 3 more tablespoons of red wine vinegar. And what this is going to do, it's just going to brighten up this bottled dressing and give it a fresher flavor that really more mimics something homemade. And then I'm going to put in 3 tablespoons of olive oil. And I'm going to get that other half of a lemon that we squeezed just a minute ago. Any kind of time we've got an extra fresh, bright layer we can do, we want to take that chance. So I'm going to make sure none of the seeds get into my pasta salad. Perfect. And then we're going to put in a little bit of our mixture of our seasonings, about 1 tablespoon of our seasonings here. And then we're going to go ahead and get some of our other ingredients. I'm going to put some olives in here. I have Spanish olives. We've got cucumbers and tomatoes. And I'm also going to add in some more of my chopped onion. So let me get all of these out of the way. I might need to move this for a second. And I'll get my chopped onion. Y'all, this is gonna be so yummy. And the presentation on this, oh my gosh, y'all, you're gonna love it. So, in my dressing, it's already mixed together, but I do need to stir it up just a little bit. I don't want it to kind of be separated still. I want it to be all mixed together, so I'm giving it a quick whisk. Let me move this out of the way so you can see me. Giving it a quick whisk. As you noticed, I didn't put a pepper in this, and there's a reason for that. Black pepper is one of the things that really just sets off any sort of fresh vegetable dish for me. So I love to do a really generous black pepper cracking freshly at the very end to bump up that flavor big time. So into my dressing, I'm going to put a good cup of diced cucumbers. That leaves me another cup in here for later, because we still have 1 more dish left, and a half. Okay, and then I'm going to go in with a cup of onions. Gives me a cup left. And then I'm going to go in with another cup of tomatoes. Okay, leaves me about half a cup of those. Okay, and then the last thing that I'm going to put in here is a good 1/2 cup to 3/4 cup of olives. It really just depends on you and what your family likes. I have half of my children that are okay with olives. 1 absolutely loves, and then the rest of them are kind of like, meh, whatever. But it's a mama favorite thing. So this is a mama's favorite dish. It gets on the list of things I get asked to bring to our 4th of July or Memorial Day, any kind of summer thing, very frequently. So at this point, I'm going to stir up the veg. Make sure everybody is totally coated in that dressing, and I'm going to get my pasta in here. Now, if you wanted to do this the night of, I would say still do this at least 2 to 3 hours beforehand if you want to cook your pasta, because this needs time to set up and really cool down in the fridge so it gets into the salad zone. But if you are going for a pasta salad that is going to be used in your pre-cooked pasta, you can have this ready in a matter of minutes, because your pasta is already going to be cold and you don't have to worry about that. I'm so glad I went for this big bowl with tall sides. I had a feeling. Okay, so just like that, this is ready. I'm going to pull from the bottom, pull my veggies up to the top. And I'll say this, and I did it on purpose. This is why I'm going to point this out to you separately and totally talk about this separate, because I want you to write this down and remember it. I did not use all the dressing on purpose. There's a half a cup of dressing left in that bottle. After this sits for a few minutes, especially if your pasta is warm and not cold, it's going to absorb this dressing. And I'm going to say, if it's warm, it's going to shock you at the rate in which this will absorb this dressing. Keep a little dressing on hand to give a little more moisture to your pasta salad right before you serve it. You'll be glad that you did. It doesn't only add to the moisture level, but it also adds to the pack of punch that it has at the very end of the serving, or so it's really fresh right before you put it out on your buffet. Okay, let's look at it up close. Isn't that pretty? We'll finish the presentation on this in just a minute. It's going to knock your socks off. Okay, now we're going to do a little bit of prep for our Tex Mex Meatloaf presentation, but we're also going to do a little work for a little bit of a Tex Mex side dish as well to go with our mini meatloaf. So let's look at what we've got here. I've got my rice. It's a little bit of pre-cooked rice, and I've got some corn here. Also have a remaining bit of onions, tomatoes, cucumbers. You're gonna love how this turns out. So basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a little bit of a Southwest salad. We're gonna turn our yummy salad ingredients that normally would be like just a topping, and we're going to make a side dish and a separate little topping while we're just doing the same amount of chopping for our dish. So I'm going to get some of these things out of the way that we're done with and get the things that we actually need in front of us. Okay, Pico is coming. So first thing we need is we need a big bowl because we're going to start building a salad. Let's do this bowl. Love this bowl too. This bright colors, I just love. Obviously, I love some colors occasionally. I'm a little bit of a neutrals girl, but sometimes in that summertime, the reds just make me excited. So this is a really filling salad. This is going to start with a cup of rice, kind of like a chopped salad, something sort of along the lines of Cobb salad, but just Southwest style. Almost basically the filling that you would get in a really awesome burrito, just in a salad form. So I'm going to go with a cup of this cold rice. We're going to put a half a cup of tomatoes. I'm going to go in with a cup of this corn. And then I'm also going to go in with my cup of cucumbers. And then I've got a cup of onions. And I'm going to save a half a cup because I want a half a cup for my meatloaf topping. We do have some Pico De Gallo, so that'll give a little onion flavor, but all in all, we want a little extra topping for that. So here are my veggies so far. So now we need to work on our dressing and our lettuce. Even my veggies together right now are super beautiful. Love that. So I'm going to get a head of iceberg lettuce. And like I said earlier, this is a lot of dishes. I'm showing you how you can use our prep work that I did all weekend to make so many different things. This could transform into many different meals. This could also be something that you use to pull from to say, I know one or two things I can bring to that buffet that we're going to, that picnic we're going to, and not even have to think twice about it. So that's what this is about. Right now, I'm going to want some lettuce for this, and I'm going to want some lettuce for my Tex Mex meatloaf to kind of go on top like you would top a taco. So I'm going to take a good half of this head and we're going to just chop it up for both of those things. Iceberg lettuce, I feel like, is one of the things that we have forgotten sometimes. I absolutely love it because there's nothing like the crispness and the freshness of iceberg on a hamburger or in like a wedge salad. But really for me on a taco, there's nothing like the crispness of a fresh iceberg. So we're going to just slice it up because you want this to be a chopped salad. And also the remaining of this lettuce is going to chop our mini meatloaf. So you want to keep in mind what you're using this for, and it's going to want to be small in our mouth. So I'm going to get a little bowl to put some of this in. Or a big one because it's already right here. We'll move it when I'm done. You just know this is lettuce going in this big old bowl. All right. Anytime I chop lettuce, I've got to be super honest. Like, I have a reputation of chopping way more than we need. My husband's like, how many people are we feeding for taco night? Because I do a whole salad bar worth of lettuce for 4 of us to eat tacos. But in this case, we're using it for a couple different things. So we're going to need some extra lettuce. But a little goes a long way in the lettuce department. It's all those layers in there. That's where it gets. So we're going to have some lettuce to do this dish with. Don't you worry. Okay. I got a little overboard right here. Get it all in the bowl. We don't want to waste it. All right. Now, what we're going to do with this and this is make a Tex-Mex salad. And how we're going to do that is we're going to start with some mayonnaise. We're going to have a little bit of cumin, some chili powder. I'm going to have my seasoning with the salt, onion, and garlic powder in it, and I need some lemon juice. So for this dressing, we're really just kind of doing a twist on a ranch. We're going to do kind of like a Tex-Mex style ranch, and it's going to be delicious. So let me get a little bowl. And for my salad dressing, I just am going to need about, this is creamy but not heavy creamy, so I'm going to need about 3 tablespoons. And I actually am measuring, y'all. I can do it. I don't have to, but I'll show you that I can. 3 tablespoons of mayonnaise. And this is enough salad dressing for me for this one salad, but if you have extra, this is delicious to dip chicken tenders in, to put in any kind of burrito or Southwest wrap. Yum. Trust me. If you want to make extra, it's not going to go to waste. So this is 3 tablespoons of mayonnaise. I'll put that over here. Actually, let's go ahead. I'm not going to measure anything else. I'll put that in the sink. You know me. If you've watched me cook any kind of time, that was all the measuring you're going to get until I'm baking something. Okay, I'm going to put in a tablespoon of my mixture of onion, garlic, and salt. I'm going to put a teaspoon of chili powder. And like I said, I use my hand to measure. So you see me doing this. The teaspoon, I know what it looks like in my hand, and I'll show you. So right here, this center portion of your hand is a tablespoon. But if you kind of go inside that portion, you see where that line is for the onion powder? Inside that portion, that's about a teaspoon. If I was to fill this portion all the way up, that would be a tablespoon. And I do that all the time. Just cut my hand like this, and the small portion where your skin starts to kind of fold in and make a cup, that is tablespoon. If you go out to the larger portion of your hand and you're doing something that's like a dry mix of some sort, breadcrumbs, rice, something like that, that's 1/4 of a cup that I can hold in my lady size hand. So just a good thing to know. All right, now I'm going to add a little bit of lemon juice in here, and my dressing is going to be ready. I'm going to use the whole lemon on this one. This is what's going to break down my mayonnaise and make it really bright and not quite so heavy, but it's also what's going to brighten and freshen up the entire salad. So there's that. And there's got to be something green here. And because I've used cilantro so much, I'm going to do something for the people that don't love cilantro. And we're going to go scallions on this one. Okay, so I'm going to get my green onions out here. All right, and we're going to go ahead and chop about 2 of these green onions, and I'm going to use these in the dressing. And the reason I like to do that is just because I love the freshness in the dressing itself. So I'm going to cut these. Let me move these out of the way so you can see exactly what I do. Okay. We're going to cut these in half again. And just like this, we're going to bang down. And you have, all in all, about 1/4 of a cup of scallions. We don't want the very end, so I'm going to say thank you for coming and get these in my salad dressing. Now the reason I didn't mix my lettuce in with all of my other veg is because I'm going to put this dressing in the base of my bowl. Then we're going to toss everything else together. My lettuce would wilt too much early on in the process, and I want to give it every ounce of opportunity to keep the integrity of the lettuce. So that's why we're going to wait on that part. Okay, I'm going to mix this up, and then we'll be ready to serve it. Really, this is very simple to replace any kind of ranch dressing that you would make. If you wanted to make a really good ranch without the Tex-Mex flair, you could just replace the herbs that I used, or the spices that I used, with the cumin and the chili powder, and use extra garlic, put some dill in, and some parsley, And that's ranch all by itself. All right, with a little kick, because that lemon juice really brightens it up. Now, well, let's build this. So we've got our lettuce, and we've got our gorgeous veggies here, and I'm going to toss these two together. And then this bowl is what we're going to make our salad in. And I'm going to show you the method to make that perfect every single time. So, because we're using the same bowl, we don't need to wash it, it's still salad. I'm going to put my dressing in the bottom and around the edges of my bowl. So what that's going to do is it's going to make my dressing start to dress my salad, but it's not going to dress the whole salad until I'm ready to serve it. So I can pack this up and take it to my picnic just like it is, and then toss it when I get there, and it'll be just like I made it at home. This little trick I learned probably, I think, from Ina Garten, pretty sure. All right, so there's that. And then we're going to take our salad and put it on top of our dressing. I'll go ahead and toss it together just a little bit. This is gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous. It's going to go right on top. And we'll toss it right at the end when we're going to put all this serving to show you how to put it together. Okay, so that is done. So now we have our mini meatloaves in the oven. Our Pico De Gallo is made, ready to stand up to that big, big meatloaf flavor. I need to slice just a little bit more lettuce, and when these come out, we'll be ready to plate the whole meal up. I can't wait to show it to you. See you in just a minute. Okay, welcome back, y'all. Our meatloaves are done. They smell amazing, so I'm going to grab them out of the oven, and then I'm going to show you how to present this whole delicious spread. So our meatloaves baked for right at 15 minutes. They are brown on the edges. Y'all look at those. I don't know anybody, young or old, that would be incredibly excited about that. So we're going to let those cool for just a second, and I'll show you first how I love to plate the pasta salad. Now this is totally optional. This is just something that I love, especially if you're serving family style where everything's kind of on the center of the table. I'll show you with just a little bit of spring mix how I love to do this. So I put a little bit of spring mix underneath my pasta salad. You're almost making like a nest, like you would if you're making a wreath for something at Christmas time, just around the outside edge of your plate. And I never, never, never want to serve something that doesn't have some flavor on it. So we always, always take a little bit of oil. You could also do a little more salad dressing here. A little bit of oil and some salt. You could also squeeze some lemon juice on here if you wanted to. So our salad dressing, or salad leaves have a little dressing on them. And then I may not put all of this on here, but this is just to show you exactly what this does. This is the presentation that will make people be like, oh, you took that extra step. Never will they ever know that this was all kind of prepped ahead. So I'm mixing it up, and I'm going to just put this right in the center here, a good portion. And it's going to be so impressive this way, y'all. Your guests are going to be like, wow. You really learned something there. Okay. And then like I said earlier, I love an impressive crack of black pepper on the top right at the end. The cracked black pepper really has a punch that the pre-ground black pepper really never gets. So it makes a huge difference. And that is beautiful. Okay, let's show you this. This is that presentation. That could be lunch by itself. It could also very easily be dinner with a little grilled chicken on it. So let's get our cups out. Let's plate up this delicious dish. I also talked to you about tossing your salad at the very end. That's what we're going to do now. My salad has the dressing on it. It's just all around the edges of the bowl. So I'm going to toss it together. And this is going to just gently coat everything in the bowl because the dressing is in the bottom. So it's been here all this time, and it's just now going to get tossed, so it's not going to be wilty. There's a little rice in here, and there's some corn in here, so it's fresh and it's filling. So I'm going to put this down on the base. So you have kind of like a salad side dish combination. So yummy. The smell, oh my gosh. It's so summery, so summery. Okay, and I'm going to take out my favorite looking one of these little taco cups. Let's see which one it's going to be. Probably need a little spoon to help me so I don't burn myself. Let's scoot you over here. I'm going to get one with a little perfect edge. I like a perfect little cup. Here we go, and I might as well put two on the plate. Okay, and for this, because we lovingly made that delicious Pico De Gallo just a little while ago, and it's been marinating and getting super happy, that's going to be such a fresh layer. So just a little bit of lettuce on top to remind you that we are having some taco time. And a little Pico De Gallo. These little cups, before you add the toppings, they could be a really great quick grab for kids on the way out the door to basketball practice, to baseball practice, to piano lessons, whatever, the pool. And there you have it. I'm going to crack a little more black pepper on that because I can. And we just pulled together a really impressive meal with nothing but what we prepped ahead for the week. Something I want to talk to you a little bit about right here at the end is prepping ahead is not just about having it all together. It's about being intentional. The Lord is so intentional with us that we can reflect that to our family by being intentional with them. Anytime we prep ahead, it's not just about practicality, it's about being very intentional with our time, that we're going to really do the best to steward our time so we have the most to spend the time on our family later in the day. I want you to always get to that dinner table with a full cup. That's why in Mama Whitten's Kitchen, I teach you my Southern Table Method. It's a 5-step method, starting with how to stock your pantry. That way you can always shop your pantry in your fridge so you know what you have on hand and you can get an easy dinner together any night of the week. Then I have my Culinary Foundations course, and that really just walks through practically the way to do the basic things that you may never have been taught. Some people have looked at me and said, Lauren, I'm an adult, but I've never made rice and it turned out right. Those things are all in that Culinary Foundations course. In addition to that, I have my shortcut suppers, and that is the busy mom's playground. Those shortcut suppers come in between 15 and 30 minutes a piece. They come with a grocery list, and that way you always can shop almost backwards your pantry and then decide what you want to make for dinner instead of saying, we want this for dinner. Do we even have what we need? That is a really practical way to make dinner count. You have it, you can make it. That's how we make a plan. The fourth way is my live classes. Every single week I have a live class, but it's totally optional if you want to come in there at the live time because they're recorded and replayed. So you can watch anything that I've taught live on Fridays at any time during the week. Then that fifth one, that has to be my favorite step of the Southern Table Method of all. It's when I get to minister to your mama heart. It's when I sit down and share with you some of the things the Lord has shown me over being a mother the last 22 years. You know, it's not always been easy. The Lord has always met me in whatever season it is, and He's taught me something in it that I'm happy to teach you. In 22 years, I've tried, I've won, I've failed, and I've learned that authenticity is the best way to raise kids and have a spouse that really can depend on you. So I want to show you how I got there. Because you know what? We learn things not only for ourselves, but for other people. I'm going to put the link to Mama Whitten's Kitchen just in the description below. I would love to have you in there with me so I can pour into you both in the kitchen and in motherhood. I'd love to see you in there. And as always, happy cooking, y'all. See you next time.